We're excited to welcome back 5 partner sponsors from 2022. A few have been with us actually since the very beginning of Disrupt HR in Ottawa, since day one. Special thank you to Hicks Morley, Clarity Group, Keynote Search, Stratford, and Indeed. This year, we are pleased to be partnering with the Ottawa Food Bank, and I'd like to welcome to the stage Tricia Johnson, Director of Communications and Development for the Ottawa Food Bank.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tricia Johnson. I'm the Director of Communications and Development at the Ottawa Food Bank. It's a pleasure to be among local business leaders, entrepreneurs, and HR professionals as part of the 7th annual Disrupt HR Ottawa Speaker Series. I hope you're enjoying an inspiring day of big ideas. On behalf of the Ottawa Food Bank, we are deeply honored and grateful to be your charity partner. But I have a confession. The Ottawa Food Bank is not supposed to be here. The Ottawa Food Bank was just supposed to be a temporary solution. We were just supposed to provide emergency food service during a recession that happened in 1984. It was just supposed to be for the unemployed. We were just providing canned food. And it was just supposed to be for a short period of time, a few months, maybe a year. But 40 years later, the Ottawa Food Bank is still here. In fact, we're a household name. The Ottawa Food Bank is now a network of nearly 100 food programs across Ottawa. Across the city, over 490,000 visits are made to the network from neighbors seeking food support. That's 22% more compared to last year, and a 68% increase compared to 2019. And of those seeking food support, 37% are children. As leaders and human resource professionals, you play a powerful role. Through recruitment and hiring, training and development, managing employer-employee relationships, and many other functions, you are building company cultures that attract and foster great talent. You support positive morale and build great teams that can and will accomplish incredible and important things that make Ottawa a prosperous, healthy, and inclusive place to live, work, and play. The food and funds you are generously donating today will help neighbors in Ottawa who are struggling to afford enough healthy food for themselves and for their families. The food and funds you generously donate today make it possible for the Ottawa Food Bank to include a large amount of nutritious and fresh choices at food programs across Ottawa. These food programs include community food banks, food cupboards, meal programs, multi-service programs, kids' summer nutrition programs, and after-school snack programs. On behalf of the Ottawa Food Bank, I thank each person who has brought a food item and made a monetary donation. Both are needed when visits to food programs are at all-time highs. If you have not yet given, I ask that you please make a donation today. Monetary and food donations will continue to be collected during the intermission, and you can please find Lydia here at the front. Your gifts are dearly appreciated and greatly needed. I also ask, can you and your organizations make giving generously a habit? One that is fun, convenient, and good for our community? At the Ottawa Food Bank, the giving season is year-round. We offer rewarding team-building experiences at our warehouse, at our farm, and for those of you who love a competition, at Food Sort Challenge, where over 50 teams race to see who can sort 1,000 pounds of food the fastest. However you choose to get involved, make it a habit. Make it fun, convenient, and good for community. I hope you will support the Ottawa Food Bank with the gift of food and funds today, and with the gift of volunteerism in the future. Your contributions support the health and well-being of people living alone, families, and children. Your giving is deeply appreciated. Enjoy this incredible event tonight, and again, thank you.
Thanks, Tricia. Our team at Recollective has actually done quite a few food sorting shifts at the food bank. It's a great team building exercise. It's an amazing place, so I encourage you to do that if you haven't already. It just so happens that today is the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. So that makes today a perfect day to give generously to a good local cause. Everyone who donates will be entered in a draw. We have some fabulous prizes, 4 gift cards from local Ottawa businesses, so please give generously. Okay, before I bring on our first speaker, I have just a quick public service announcement. Just read it for you here. The people at the registration desk have been so kind to set up a lost and found. So if you lose or find anything this evening, please report it at the registration desk. They'll relay the info to us up here, and we'll make sure we get the item back to its rightful owner. Okay. So I think tonight we're going to have a ton of fun. In fact, you might say it will be pure joy, which brings us to our first speaker of the night. We often think that HR is all about cheerleading for employee engagement, but our next speaker is here to remind us that creating joyful workspaces isn't just about the pep talks, and there's a simple yet magical formula. Let's welcome Ella Bates with Don't Leave Joy on the Table.
Thanks, Paul.
No problem. Okay, everyone, we need your help. We're going to count Ella in, okay? So ready? 3, 2, 1.
Here are some trending hashtags for the workplace. We have the Sunday scaries, we have the Monday blues, and my personal favorite, I hate my job. And if that isn't spoiling your beer tonight, I asked my friend Sarah just a few days ago to take part of a survey and said, what do you love about work? And she laughed at me. If you haven't surveyed your teams recently, you might be shocked to know that 67% of them are checked out. They are clocking in and they're mentally checking out, otherwise known as presenteeism. How many of you have experienced burnout before? Maybe experienced the Monday blues, the Sunday selfies, or maybe you've Googled how to live off-grid in a tiny house. I know that I have. Maybe you're burnt out from trying to keep people really happy and engaged and productive at work. 37% of your team members being engaged is a shocking statistic, and we have to do something about it. We are sick of being the happiness cheerleaders, and it's not just our job. We need to start handing over and bring in more of an empowerment model. So how do we do that? First of all, you need to recognize that you are not responsible for your team members' feelings or managing their moods. That's what a therapist couch is for. So how do we do something about this? Very simply, we need to ask them some questions. Ask them, where do you find joy at work? What do you find happiness in? Have you ever been asked this question? Would you even know how to answer it? When we ask these really skillful questions, we find out things that will help them to take control and empower them to design their day themselves and take the ownership of us, which will take away about 50% of us dealing with squabbles and petty issues that we simply don't have time for. I'm waiting for my next slide. Come on, come on. The timing is hard. So I asked people the question, what brings happiness at work for you? And you'll be surprised to know it wasn't a branded Stanley Cup or unlimited vacation. There were things like, I got out of my pajamas and I wore cool shoes. There were things like, I fixed a printer and we survived some really boring meetings. We simply need to be asking the questions. You need to give your leadership team the language to be able to ask the questions that matter. Questions like, how do you want to grow? What makes you happy here? How are you scheduling this in? And what do I need to support you taking control of your own happiness? Stress for HR is like a big pile of laundry. If you sit there for too long, it's going to fester and it's going to smell really bad, and we have to get mum involved. Right? We don't want to wait until we're burnt out and we have a lack of resources. So here's what you need to do. Step 1, set up a peer mentorship program. When people are connected with trained mentors, they're connected and relating on a different level to fast-track problem solving and to help them strategize together as a team. Success is not a single sport, very, very clearly. People love to mentor, people love to be mentors, and people love to share their knowledge like we're doing simply today. This is the dance for the next slide coming up. When we build stronger and resilient teams, we do this together, magic really happens. What we're doing is actually creating a culture of empowered staff to be able to take control of their happiness, and we know that's where the magic happens. A bit like when you're building muscle, you need a spotter. You need to give people the strength and the tools to be able to deal with conflict, which comes as a result of stress. In fact, if you have a peer mentorship program, you're going to cut down gossip. Think outside the box. Create book clubs with books like Dealing with People You Can't Stand, which, by the way, is a real book. And you can really create bold and innovative conversations where people actually get excited about solving conflict and having disruptive and creative conversations instead of being really fearful of conflict in the workplace. Well-being and joy, they come hand in hand, and we know that in 2020 we all put the big Band-Aid on, but we're 4 years on, and what we did then isn't working now. We need to start empowering our staff to find what works for them specifically. The way to do that is to get really intentional. Some people will need to talk through with a therapist, some people will need a screen box, which by the way is a real thing, and some people will need a well-timed cat video, like myself, or really great shoes. We need to create a menu of options for people to take control. So I challenge you with this. You need to create a workplace that empowers people to take control of their own happiness by being a curator and not the concierge for their happiness. You want to create a place where there's a cat cameo on Zoom and everyone enjoys it, celebrates it, where people are taking office selfies and tagging you in it because they're super proud to be in a caring and empowerment environment that doesn't leave joy on the table. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ella. I'm sure we would all appreciate a little more joy in our day. Believe it or not, we've already got a note from the registration desk in the lost and found. Something's been lost, turned in at the lost. If you lost a termination package, a pamphlet for outplacement services, and a box of Kleenex, you can claim them at the registration desk if you sign a release. I don't think that's true. Very cute registration desk. Okay, moving on to our next speaker. Whoops. In a world where AI seems poised to take over everything, one thing it can't do is replace the power of human connection. Our next speaker will show us how mastering communication and emotional intelligence can give businesses a real edge. Please welcome Michaud Garneau to present AI Won't Save Your Business If Your Team Can't Communicate. Oh, music. Okay, we're going to count Michaud in. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Hi. I am an avid rock climber and an avid leadership development consultant, and those two things are extremely similar. Imagine your business is this climber. As your climber ascends, they're kept safe by a skilled belayer on the ground. That belayer represents your employees. Connecting your employees to the business is a rope. That rope represents AI. The rope is the tool that will help your business scale to new heights. But it is a tool that relies entirely on the belayer's ability to use it. If the belayer doesn't know how to use it, you're just dangling from a thread, and if you fall, you hit the ground. The rope is a tool, and it's a tool used by people, and people on teams are only as effective as their ability to communicate. When I'm belaying, I'm watching my climber. I'm checking their every move. I'm trying to pay close attention so that I know when they might fall, so when they do, I can react. Because if I don't, danger can happen. Now imagine your employees knew exactly what was going on with your business, where you were going, that they could predict the problems before they happened, so that you felt safe to take bigger and bigger risks. Pretty nice. Now, imagine the opposite. Imagine tying into a rope and feeling terrified that the person on the other side doesn't know how to keep you safe. How many risks are you going to take? How high are you willing to go? And that's where training comes in. We can train things like leadership development, effective communication, emotional intelligence, so that your team can continue to evolve and work together along with the tools. Because that's what they are. AI is a tool. Ropes are tools that need to be used by people. And humans are not this amazing species because of our ability to use tools. It's because of our ability to collaborate and use tools together. But deadlines stack up, pressure builds, and communication suffers. How many of you are feeling a lot of pressure at work these days? Show of hands. Let's all take a big breath in. Exhale. Climbers are exceptionally good at communicating well when the pressure is high. And they're not good at that just because it's some innate skill. They've gone through a tremendous amount of training and practice to get there. And we need to do the same in business. We can't expect employees to be able to use the tools they have at the highest level when the pressure is on. It's too hard. We need to build trust. Businesses, just like climbing, are built like trust, and you see it all the time. The highest performing teams are the ones that have that level of trust. They can take risk. But if you don't have the right training and opportunities for practice, a small mistake can be this huge catastrophic deal. When your teams know how to communicate, how to have difficult but necessary conversations, how to align on tasks, then they can start to take on new, huge challenges. Because AI is an incredible tool, a tool that will help your business soar to new heights, but it's totally useless unless your team knows how to communicate.
Thank you, Michaud. Communication really is such a core business skill. Someone told me once that the two most important skills to master are active listening and, well, I didn't hear the second one, but anyway. We have another public service announcement here. Hold on. Something from the lost and found. Something else has been turned in. If you've lost a stack of resumes and a magic 8-ball, you can retrieve them at the registration desk. Okay, moving on to our next speaker. Gone are the days when only degrees and resumes mattered. Today's hiring is all about skills, and our next speaker will dive into how this approach can change the game for both job seekers and employers. Please welcome Stepan Arman with The Power and Promise of Skills-First Hiring. Okay, we're going to count. Oops, sorry, wait to the bottom. We have to count you in.
I was ready to go.
Sorry. Ready? Together, we're going to count them in. 3, 2, 1.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm here to speak for the next few minutes about skills-first hiring. It's a pretty straightforward concept. The TLDR is, if you can do the job, you should get the job. My presentation's over. No. The idea behind skills-first hiring is that we want to de-emphasize some of the traditional or classic elements that make their ways into so many job postings. Things like a minimum number of years of experience, or a specific work experience in a field of work or field of study, academic requirements like a diploma or a degree. All of these things are omnipresent in job postings across Canada and globally for that matter. The challenge, or the question rather, that we need to challenge ourselves with is, are we convinced that these are the best tools that we have to act as barometers or gauges for the potential success of a candidate in a given role, or are they acting as barriers and gates? The reality is that Canada has a very well-educated workforce, the most educated workforce in the G7, as a matter of fact. So we already have a vast, very well-educated pool of talent to recruit from. Despite that, we continue to see pretty persistent mismatches in skills across a variety of geographies and industries in Canada, which means that the opportunity for us to address the skills gap or the skills mismatch lies elsewhere than in these traditional prerequisites and check-the-box items. Canadian employers, 59% of Canadian employers state that they're having more difficulty hiring today than they were 5 years ago. That's pre-pandemic. Now, if anybody in this room is on the opposite side of that statistic, in the 41%, please let me know. I'd love to chat. But ultimately, what we seek to do is to expand our pool of talent. Not only expand our pool of talent, but make one that's more diverse and more inclusive as well. 1/3 of Canadian job seekers state that they face barriers to employment based on these check-the-box items, 32%. And we know that these barriers are felt differently by different groups. Women, for example, statistically are less likely to apply to a job for which they do not possess all of the requirements as opposed to men. The benefits of a skills-first approach go beyond just having a broader, more diverse and inclusive talent pool as well, though. Downstream, we see an increase in tenure. Companies that dropped their degree requirements saw an increase of 20% in their average tenure. Now, I'm pretty certain that everybody in this room has at least one, if not multiple, products and services from at least one, if not all three, of these companies that you probably recognize. All of these companies were founded by university dropouts. And in case you were wondering what's been going on the slides behind me during this, well, every single cultural contribution, scientific discovery, and invention that you saw came from somebody that did not have a post-secondary diploma, or even a high school diploma, or was a person of color or a woman. All of these individuals would have faced barriers to employment in the very fields that they were pioneers, based on our checkbox approach. This is an actual job posting for a receptionist, typical office support stuff, answering phones, greeting clients, and yet the very first requirement that we put on the job seeker is to show up with a post-secondary diploma in business administration. Is a business degree truly the best tool that we have to assess somebody's ability to answer a phone? Job seekers are looking for a new approach, one that is based on a transferable skills and competencies discussion. And employers say that they want to hire for skills, and yet we continue to default to this traditional check-the-box prerequisite list in our jobs. We need to challenge ourselves with what is it that we're truly hiring for, and what can we offer? What can we train, grow, build, develop? These are things that job seekers are looking for. 78% of job seekers for whom it's a critical consideration, opportunities for growth and development. What's good for job seekers is also good for employers, and these two things are not at odds with each other. We can recruit better, we can do better, we can hire better, and the world can work better by adopting a skills-first approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Stepan. That was a very insightful presentation. I don't think they get it back there at the registration desk. Something else has been turned in. It's an underperforming employee with a bad attitude. Please come and claim them at the registration desk. No matter what we do, we can't get them to leave. All right, let's move on to our next speaker. Coaching has become an accepted tool for leadership development, but with all the new technology and AI at our fingertips, is it still worth it? Our next speaker will tackle the tough questions around coaching in today's world. Please welcome Stephanie Burgetts with The Coaching Dilemma.
Yep.
Okay, everyone, let's count Stephanie in. 3, 2, 1.
The coaching's dilemma. Leadership coaching and executive coaching has long been established as a critical tool that we use when we're developing top talent. It's been a tool that has been integrated into leadership development programs quite a lot, and in most organizations over the last couple of decades. And no doubt it's helped to form some very strong leaders. But today I'd like to invite us to pause and to ask the question, are we coaching the right people? Are we getting the bang for our buck that we are looking for when we are coaching our executives? And the same bang for a buck that we would expect from any other program in our organization. And with AI, should we be using human coaches at all? So let's go to who we're coaching. Traditionally, executive coaching has been for, well, executives. And those are the folks at the top of our organization who have access to resources and experiences that most of us in the other parts of the organization do not. So maybe it's time for us to take a look at focusing our coaching resources on those who are aspiring leaders, those who are at pivotal points in their careers, and those who are maybe even not aspiring to leadership at all. And we have to question whether or not we are getting the cost benefit for the growth that we would expect to see in our executives. It's no secret that coaching is expensive. With AI, there's opportunities for us to explore those for more employees. So AI tools, they're getting better. With generative AI, they're learning from us. And what you're seeing on your screen is a screenshot of the AI tool that I engaged with as my due diligence in preparing for this presentation. And it's not bad. I gave it a goal-oriented topic, and it asked me some closed questions and some directive questions. But all in all, for what I asked it to do, it followed the right sorts of questions that I myself might have considered asking a client. And it was efficient. It was far less time than had I picked up the phone or had to create a meeting with a colleague or a leader. And why are they effective? Well, the research shows that most of them are based on goal attainment theories, like the growth theory. And so, in that respect, the research is showing that they're actually just as effective as our human coaches in supporting clients in goal attainment, and they're more efficient, and they're available 24/7. So where does that leave us? Well, I actually think the introduction of AI coaching programs is one of equity. It's cost prohibitive to provide a human coach to every single person in our organizations. But for the cost of about 2 human coaching sessions, you can provide access to an AI coaching tool for everyone in your organization. And people who aren't usually able to access coaching would have access to it. And it's available on demand. So where does that leave us, coaches, people like me? Well, here's the thing. AI can help us to support our coaching programs, but it can't create that bond and that understanding and that compassion and that trust that is developed between human beings. Coaches partner on some very deeply personal things, and they help people to understand how what they're doing and their behaviors are impacting those in the workplace. And so in that regard, humans are uniquely in a position of being able to provide that kind of coaching. So what do we do with coaching? Well, maybe we need to take a look at who we're coaching in our organizations and refocus our resources on team coaching and on individuals who are in pivotal positions within their organizations and pivotal points in their careers. And maybe we as
coaches need to embrace embrace AI a little bit in our HR programs. Use the AI technology for what it's really good for, and support individuals in their goal attainment, and use human coaches for what we're really good for. In our changing landscape, I believe that coaching still has relevance, and it's important to allow it to do what it is that it's most best at. Thank you.
And it's time to introduce our next speaker. But first, we have a public service announcement. This time it looks like someone's lost something instead of found something. Please help us find a rock star performer with scarce skills and excellent attitude who is bilingual and has reasonable salary expectations. If you find this person, please return them to, well, anyone here, probably. Okay, next speaker. What does it take to create a team where everyone feels they can contribute, no matter what their personality or style? Our next speaker will walk us through practical strategies to foster a safe and inclusive work environment. Please welcome Aruj Qureshi with Forget the Carrots, Offer Purpose to Drive Innovation and Results. Okay, let's count Aruj in. 3, 2, 1.
All right. So the COVID-19 pandemic really changed the way we work. And now, as we leave that era behind, we're back at the drawing board thinking about the future of work all over again, offering all kinds of new incentives to people to come back. But there's one conversation that really dominates, which is return to the office. I would say there's something more important that we need to think about. Think about this. Only 8% of planned work is getting delivered at work. 40% of the effort that we put into our projects is wasted due to scope changes. And I'm sure there's many people here who can relate to that, that just as soon as you feel like you're getting ahead, the priorities have shifted. And there's a few reasons for that. Misalignment between leadership's vision and delivery teams is a big problem and causing people to stress out, disengage, and become disillusioned, leaving lots of insights never to surface. We also work with a number of personalities at the workplace, but we don't always mindfully create spaces and conversations where all of those personalities can come into the conversation and thrive. Speaking of psychological safety, did you know that only 26% of leaders are actually thinking about psychological safety for their teams? And that's according to McKinsey. So there's a huge problem here at a time when we're asking people to be brave and change things up once again. Why I'm speaking about this is because as an agency lead, I find myself in many client workspaces, and I find it unbelievable that 75 to 90% of digital transformations are failing. So a couple of years ago, my team and I set out to research and build systems and solutions to help our clients create impact and ensure that the work that we were doing actually gets delivered and actually sees the day of light. And here are some things that we found. Creating clarity is really, really important. When there's no clarity, people close. They shut down. They don't want to raise their hand and speak because they're just not sure what to say or what to ask. Creating alignment between leadership and delivery is really important. But this has to be a two-way street, not a leader standing up at a podium, doing a sermon and expecting people to understand and come along. So we need to change that. Next, we need to foster psychological bravery. Yes, I use the word bravery because when people feel brave enough, they're going to raise their hands. And conflict is not necessarily a bad thing at the workplace. It actually helps us surface ideas and insights that would have never come up unless there was some conflict. So, in order for us for that to happen, we need to create the right conditions for that kind of bravery to happen. And so we need to reward and reinforce that bravery by acknowledging bold ideas, by having our leaders express vulnerability and show that they're just as human as everyone else. And third, we need to align results with purpose. Think about it. When are people most motivated to do things? When there's a clear sense of purpose, when they know and they understand why they're doing the things that they're doing, and even better, when what they're being asked to do aligns with their values, and they can see that very, very clearly. And we can model that in our workplace. We can do that, one, by hiring people whose values align with our mission, but then also creating spaces where people can bring in fresh ideas, so that way we can build spaces that represent the different people that come to work and feel a greater sense of ownership. These three ideas create the backbone for cultural transformation across any industry, really. And they can be measured. They can be measured in many of the things that we already measure in operations and in our businesses today. And we should be measuring them to tell a story, not just of our financial bottom line, but a human story about our businesses and our company, and how engagement caused the number of ideas to come up, and how when leaders were vulnerable, they changed the way people thought. Bottom line is that people want to contribute in a time when there's unprecedented change that's happening. They don't want to feel stuck at work. They want to do something about all the different issues that are going on around the workplace. And we should help them do that. Look at that number. That number is the investment we are all going to make in a career over a 30-year period. We need to ask ourselves, are we getting the right return on our investment when we go to work and when we build this career? And if the answer for you is yes, it's time to help others find the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Aruj. I think it's safe to say we all took something meaningful from that presentation. We have another note. I'm afraid to look. This lost and found they're out of control. Something else has been turned in. A stack of anonymous engagement survey comments written entirely in sarcasm. No one's going to claim those. All right, let's just keep going. Next speaker. Collaboration can be bold, it can be fun, and it can drive real results. Our next speaker is here to inspire us with practical and entertaining insights on how to strengthen collaboration in uncertain times. Please welcome Rula Eid Sawan to present Collaboration Unleashed, Bold Moves, Real Connections, and Serious Fun. Okay, ready? We're going to count Rula in. 3, 2, 1.
I'm stupid. Yep, you heard it. I said it. I was completely wrong when I considered that collaboration is only about communication, shared goals, and mutual respect. It's more about craziness, happy moments, and lots of fun. I reflected on 3 stories and what I received. Let me take you back early in my career, where I was fresh, ambitious, and convinced that I had all leadership skills needed. I didn't. I was responsible on a huge project. That project where you question every decision you make. So I decided to pitch an idea. Not any idea. I wanted something bold, move. So I wanted to pitch a giant inflatable banana to kick off my presentation. I wanted to grab attention. Instead, I had a room full of blank stares and a confused boss who might reconsider recruiting me. But that bold move shook things up, and we had a lot of better ideas to move forward with this project. So, bold banana died, but creativity and collaboration thrived. Now, the second one. I was going to mess up with a key relationship at work by giving him an awkward handshake. Just imagine me going on a firm professional handshake and the other one coming with a fist bump. So I was holding his hand in a way as if inviting him to a boardroom dance. It was so bad. So that awkward echo all the space. I didn't know what to do, honestly, other than just laughing. Thanks God, my client laughed too. So that awkward yet authentic moment broke the ice and helped us to remove this persona of being perfect professional and just be real people. And we built a genuine relationship that it's still for today, and we had powerful collaboration. We were able to think together and to thrive together, and we're here always. So now let me tell you about the third one. It's still annoying me a bit, but since we're real here, let's go for it. Just picture that, a big virtual room with a lot of important people, and me delivering a training about maximizing productivity. So I start by sharing the screen, and guess what? I had the tab opened, how to survive another meeting that should have been an email. So I felt sinking on the floor, and I didn't know what to do, but the trick was that everyone erupted in laughter, because honestly, we were all thinking the same, but we were too polite to say it. And suddenly, this is when the high stakes and the high pressure of that meeting turned into an authentic and honest conversation. So we were thinking what's working, what's not, and how we work smarter than harder. It was one of the best collaboration I have been part of. So if I want you to take one thing out of that speech today, just one thing, be bold. And here we go. I forget this one, having these 3 stories with lots of fun and telling you that if I want to take one thing out of our speech today, let it be bold, be brave, be you, because collaboration is also about being messy, crazy, and real. It's about connecting with people. It's about this human connectivity. It's about you and me and everyone here that will impact us. So I have one dream that I want to share with you. I'm dreaming of a time where we will find Ottawa, here, our city, as one model of collaboration that will have a ripple effect on the Bay, Canada, and why not the world? So my question for you now, are you ready to help me to make that dream a reality? Yes! Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rula, for that entertaining presentation. I'm a strong believer in having fun doing serious work. You know it's not serious, though. These people back in the Lost and Found, they just are not serious at all. We have another announcement. Let's see, here we go. Oh, this one, maybe finally we're on track here. Someone has turned in an iPhone 15. It is silver with a clear case. Just kidding. We found a letter from the Ministry of Labor, an empty bottle of vodka, and a one-way airplane ticket out of town. Got fooled. All right, on to our next speaker. No one likes a compliment sandwich, but effective feedback doesn't have to leave a bad taste in your mouth. Our next speaker will share how we can unlock brilliance in every team member without the negativity. Please welcome Marie Hogan with Every Member of Your Team is Brilliant. Okay, we're going to count Marie in. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
I don't work at Subway, but you don't need to be an expert in sandwiches to figure out that nobody would eat a shit sandwich. I don't care if it was a little bit of shit or a lot. If there was any shit in that sandwich, you wouldn't eat it. Yet this is the primary method of feedback that we use within our organizations every day. You know what I'm talking about, the shit sandwich, otherwise known as the compliment sandwich, where you take two pieces of positive feedback and you sandwich it around a criticism or a negative evaluation of someone's performance. Today, I'm going to teach you how to leave this behind and reach for ingredients that people actually want to eat, using feedback that is positive, specific, and towards the goal, and starts with the belief that every member of your team is brilliant. First, let's talk about the composition of feedback. Feedback is generally made up of two major parts. The first is whether or not that feedback is positive or negative. Generally, we understand the difference between positive and negative feedback. The game changer comes from understanding the difference between feedback that is vague and feedback that is specific. Vague feedback is generally an umbrella term that you're using to describe a series of behaviors and how you feel about them. So as an example, you could say that somebody is collaborative, which is positive vague, or uncollaborative, which is negative vague. Both of these are ascribing a values or judgment of how you feel about that behavior. What you want to do is you want to take apart that umbrella term and you want to break it into specific steps. What is the most collaborative person in your organization doing? What are the specific micro behaviors that they do every day that make them so easy to work with? Is it their tone of voice? Is it the phrasing that they use when they include other team members on a project? There's many tiny micro steps that are being used every day that make them collaborative. Where people get lost is when they think about negative specific feedback. Negative specific feedback is like telling someone all the ways to not do something. If I asked you for directions to the store and you told me, don't go left, don't go right, don't go behind you, I'd be here all day listening to all the ways I cannot do something, and I'd probably lose my self-esteem and willingness to try in the process. You want to flip the script, and you want to figure out where they are today, where you want them to be in the future, and the tiny steps that will help them get there. This type of feedback actually comes really naturally to us. If you look at parents, when they're teaching their babies how to say their first words, they are modeling positive, specific, towards the goal feedback. So when a parent is looking at their baby, they start by mouthing the word mama. What they're doing is modeling the behavior they want to see. They're taking the production of the word mama and breaking it into tiny steps. Then as soon as the baby does something they want to see, they're going to celebrate. They're catching them doing something good. They're rewarding the behavior they want to see and ignoring the behavior they don't, until the baby has mastery of the skill of language. The last thing I want to impart on you is the importance of expectations. There were two researchers, Rosenthal and Jacobson, who studied the importance of teacher expectations on student performance. They told teachers that a randomly selected group of students were brilliant. There was nothing exceptional about these students. It was just a random list of students. But the teachers believed that there was something about them that could be predicted was brilliant. 2 years later, when they followed up on the students, they found that the students who teachers expected to be brilliant were so. What that means is that your expectations are a self-fulfilling prophecy. Whether you believe that they can or they can't, you're right. And so next time you go to think about giving someone feedback, you want to think about setting the bar high, picking out the micro steps that would make them achieve skill mastery, and believe that they're able and capable to do what you want them to do. So today, I want to impress upon you the importance of choosing feedback that is positive, specific, and towards the goal. Next time you go to reach for in that feedback sandwich, I want you to take a beat. Remember that they're brilliant. Identify the specific behaviors of someone who has mastery of that skill, and then map them towards the goal. And instead of reaching for a piece of sourdough bread that you use as a vehicle for delivering, I want you to reach for ingredients that are positive, specific, and towards the goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Great presentation. I took two key takeaways from your talk. One, giving feedback, non-vague feedback, sure seems like the way to go without negativity to get the most out of people. And two, I used to think I liked every type of sandwich. You probably won't be surprised to hear that we have another public service announcement here. One of the employment lawyers in attendance came to the Lost and Found and asked if anyone had turned in 4 billable hours they lost being here today. We may need to fire the people running our Lost and Found, I think. Speaking of firing people, let's move on to our final speaker. We've all seen it. Brilliant leaders who excel at their jobs but are impossible to work with. But does their brilliance really justify their behavior? Our next speaker will challenge us to rethink how we deal with toxic leadership. Please welcome Kevin Judge with Brilliant Jerks. Why haven't you fired them yet? Okay, let's count Kevin in. 3, 2, 1.
Brilliant jerk, abrasive leader, toxic employee, Pat, Sam, Joe, or whatever other term of endearment you'd like to use for this person. The people that work for this individual feel stuck. They're trying to escape feeling like they're not respected or valued. They're just trying to get out of the environment that they're in. Now, some early warning signs might come up that you have a problem with brilliant jerks in your organization. Things like increased absenteeism, sick leave, stress leave, complaints, investigations, or maybe your critical talent has decided to leave the organization, or you can't find new talent because you've got a bad reputation. I'm curious, how many people here have ever experienced a brilliant jerk in the workplace? Show me your hands. Raise them nice and high. I want to count them. Right. Most of you have, and I'm not surprised because brilliant jerks are everywhere. The challenge is that managers that are supervising a brilliant jerk, they don't know what to do with them. So they run to HR, to you, to solve all of their problems. They need your help to address this. And with brilliant jerks, they get a lot of stuff done and they're rewarded for that. They drive revenue, they know their products. And even though they treat people terribly, they continuously get rewarded. And I think these slides are going in the wrong order right now. So what we're going to do is just, I'm going to try and go from memory because we should be much further ahead. There we go. So these managers come into your office and they say, hey, could we just ignore the problem? Maybe it'll go away. Or Pat is retiring in 2 years. What if we just wait? Or we decide to send them on training for, I don't know, DEI training or anti-harassment and bullying training, and they sit there, if they're paying attention, and think the problem is everybody else in the room. And the employment lawyers, don't get me started, they're going to tell you just to cut your losses and terminate this person with a healthy package so you can avoid any lawsuits. But all of these things get you stuck. They keep you stuck, unable to push out of the problem that toxic employees, abrasive leaders, and brilliant jerks present. It is a significant problem that costs a lot of money. Consider one employer who had an abrasive leader. Over a 2-year period of time, they lost 6 employees. This cost that company in turnover alone $800,000, not to mention productivity and motivation. And I tell you, a pizza party, that's not going to fix motivation of employees. It's a much bigger problem than that. But what if you could have a solution where your team felt motivated and engaged, and you actually managed to get the same results or even more than what you had before? What if your employees, instead of white-knuckling every time they're thinking of talking to the person, actually turns around and says, oh my gosh, I enjoy working with this person. I want to work with this person. What if that could happen for you? Now, there's 3 ways to make that happen. The first is to draw a line in the sand, to set expectations on what behaviors you want to see and what happens if they don't follow those types of behaviors. The second is to give them some insights specific to their situation, to the people that they work with, for their organization. And then the third, well, that's to provide them with a coach that will, whether they're internal or external, that will sit with them, work through this problem with them, help them to reach success, give them some tools and tips and techniques along the way. So I leave you with one question. If you have a brilliant jerk in your organization, what's it costing you to do nothing? You have the ability to get brilliant jerks to be successful in your organization. Thank you.